This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
And what we're trying to do is create a new platform that will rival social media platforms for how people connect with the world around them. Maybe it'll serve a different purpose than the way that they're using it for. A lot of people use it for brain breaks. And what we do is we present journalism in short formats in ways that young people are used to. We quiz you on it, we poll you on it, and give you kind of a sense of how to orient yourself in the world. So you can think about it like if a habit forming app, we're trying to build something that's a completely new vertical. It's not just aggregating news. It's really trying to change the format and kind of rebuild the digital commons in a way.
This is Small Press, Big Ideas, a podcast about the business of local news in the United States. I'm your host, Paul Gewertz. Small Press, Big Ideas is about the opportunities and challenges that local news publishers are facing for their businesses. I'll sit down and talk with journalists, entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, and more in the local news industry to find out what's working, what isn't, and how the local news ecosystem can innovate and flourish in the 21st century. All right. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Jack Brewster. He's the CEO and founder of Newsreel, helping you understand the world and your place in it. And we'll definitely dive into that more. Jack, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah. So I kind of start every podcast the same lately. I just love if you could just tell me and the audience a little bit about yourself, your background, your career, just kind of set the stage.
Yeah, absolutely. So I come from a family of journalists. My parents met at Life magazine in the 1980s on the first floor of the Time Life building. I wouldn't be here if not for legacy news. But my entire career now has been about trying to reinvent it. So I started my career at Forbes magazine as a politics reporter. I then left and worked at a company called NewsGuard, which was started by Stephen Brill and Gordon Krovitz. It's basically a misinformation watchdog, and I was their investigative editor. Did stories like, I don't know how many of your listeners remember now, it's been 2 years and seems like maybe 3.2 million news cycles ago, but the Haitian migrants and cats and dogs story. Tracked down with my colleague the source of that claim and spoke to her by just scouring pet groups on Facebook. And she told me that she had heard that claim about Haitian migrants, not firsthand, not secondhand, but third and maybe fourth hand. So those are the kinds of stories I did. Conducted investigations on TikTok's algorithm and X's propensity to pump misinformation to its users, stuff like that. Out of that, kind of fed up with reporting on the problem, not doing enough to actually respond to it. So about 1 year and 2 months ago now, I went full-time on Newsreel, and Newsreel is my answer to the problem. And what we're trying to do is create a new platform that will rival social media platforms for how people connect with the world around them. Maybe it'll serve a different purpose than the way that they're using it for. A lot of people use it for brain breaks and some even to connect with people still, but in a decreasing number. And what we do is we present journalism in short formats in ways that young people are used to. We quiz you on it, we poll you on it, and give you kind of a sense of how to orient yourself in the world. So you can think about it like if a habit forming app, the New York Times, and a social media platform had a baby. You can think about it as like TikTok with substance. We're trying to build something that's a completely new vertical. It's not just aggregating news. It's really trying to change the format and kind of rebuild the digital commons in a way. So yeah.
That's really cool. When you say short format, is the user experience vertical video, for lack of a better term? Kind of like you swipe,
no, it's not, yeah, it's
you see
not,
the next thing? No.
Yeah, so it is mostly vertical video and then carousels with links out to long form stories. So the difference, like the secret sauce here though, is one that like everything is produced by like a vetted journalist or high value content creator on Newsreel. We're starting to open it up now, but the principles are still the same. So you're going to be seeing real human beings on Newsreel, and they're going to be vetted and have some kind of authority. And then second, that they are looking to help you understand something more deeply. So everything is tagged on Newsreel, whether it's an opinion piece, an explainer. If you're posting vertical video, you're not just posting it frivolously. You're posting it with some kind of purpose. And then finally, that we are actually going to ask like every single reporter, or we call them Newsreel contributor, to ask for a response from the reader. So a poll, a quiz question, an open-ended text box. They have to ask for some kind of response from the reader. So that's the way we're sort of differentiating ourselves from what's out there right now.
Very cool. How can anybody like post on there? Do you have to be vetted to put up these posts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
how does that work? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just starting that now. I mean, up until this date, like I hired journalists for Newsreel to post or write for the platform. And so like I was one of the first contributors. I was the first contributor. And now we're opening it up, and like there's just the same principles that I said. So like we're basically doing what Substack and any other social media platform does when they first start. But just what we're really like different on is that we're going to vet these people and like have them adhere to some kind of standards. And those are the ones I won't bore you, but I just said, like, got to make sure you're not posting marketing, that you're a real human being with some kind of authority, and that you agree to like actually post things that help people understand something, and that you invite a response from the reader on every single post. So that's kind of how we're handling it. We're testing it. It's going to change probably over time, but that's kind of the model that we're working towards. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the kind of interactions, like the posts. I mean, the blanking on the word you said, the polls, the response and stuff like that. Kind of meeting up with like the New York Times app. Like I don't really subscribe to the New York Times, but my wife plays that crossword every day. She's back on the app like every day, or Wordle. I remember when that thing was mega viral. It keeps you coming back. And I've seen local because this show is mostly about local media, local news across the country, and I've seen more of a trend of that kind of stuff, the gaming aspect, the kind of habit forming aspect. But a lot of times there, it's like, we've got this game to hook people, but it's the same old experience or whatever of reading a story. But it's a good blending of it all.
It's funny. So I know I've heard some New York Times journalists have like jokingly quipped that like the Times is now a gaming company with a news like a side news gig, which is like a wild way to think about it, but it really is what's happening across the industry now. I mean, even like you see these new companies like Semaphore, most of their revenue is coming from events. So their news division is almost like, I mean, I'm a journalist, so I know this is sacrilege even as I say it, but it's almost like marketing for their events. And that's a wild thing to sort of say, and even in 2026, but I think that's kind of what's been happening with the industry and just the way that these business models have developed. Yeah.
So this is, kind of a mashup of social media, New York Times, and like journalism, you could say, and some other things. What can you say about the social media platforms that you're kind of competing with, and like what are they doing wrong? Is it just that they're, obviously Zuckerberg's trying to keep you in their ecosystem, not link out, et cetera, et cetera? Like, what are they doing wrong? Like in terms of sounds like you report on the algorithms of these others and everything. And could you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they are not listening to their users because their users are the products. And, the way that this usually works is that the platforms, and this has been written about a lot, but like start off with offering something for free, and then they have to get some kind of return on that. And so the product becomes like crappier and crappier over time. I don't know if I could say the word from Corey, the author, I'm blanking his last name, who like kind of pioneered the word that I can't say. Maybe I don't want to swear in your podcast, but
is it the shittification book?
There you go. Okay, you said it. Yeah.
Somebody else mentioned it recently on the podcast.
Yeah. So I mean, I fully believe in that and like subscribe to that theory. I also think like the we really need to remember that social media really changed about almost 10 years ago now when we moved to the algorithmic like filtering system. We always talk about the algorithm, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't always this way. Like we would be shown even in our algorithm like some content that wasn't stuff that we were following, but about 10 years ago, Instagram and all these other platforms started moving towards, and now it's at like the, nth sort of like progression of the algorithm, right? Where now we're really not seeing much content at all from people that we're following, our friends and our family. So social media really isn't social anymore. It's more of entertainment media or short form entertainment media. And that means that it's usually mostly celebrities and people and content creators that maximize attention. And that is an incredibly hostile environment for higher quality information that in some ways, used to filter well through those pipelines that are just now are not at all. All right. Second thing is like we used to have like small little things that made social media better, like the blue check. It wasn't perfect, but it did give users on Twitter some knowledge about
Mm-hmm.
the tiers of information. So I knew that like if something was posted by somebody, they had some kind of standing to get there. It was kind of a random system. Like I got a blue check. I think I emailed like a random dude at Twitter that like one of my like journalism friends knew. And like he's like, yeah, like I'll see if I can get you. All right, here you go. Here's one. Like it wasn't a perfect system by any means,
Right.
but it did give you some kind of tiers. I mean, now you can just pay for it, and
Like
I
$7, like $7 a month or something. You get
yeah,
a
yeah,
blue check, something like
exactly,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like so that's just completely gone. So it's really hostile environment right now for journalists on these platforms, even more than it used to be. And it also is a bad environment for people who use social media to understand the world around them more deeply. And increasingly, more and more people are doing so. So, that's sort of where I think there's an opening. The final thing I'll say is not only is social media not social anymore, but it's more and more produced by machines, right? I mean, like if you go on Twitter now or X, sorry, like a quarter of my feed is about, people talking about making like fake AI influencers to pump your app to people on TikTok. Like
Right.
truly like that's like a quarter of my feed. Maybe that says something about like kind of like what I'm interested in. I'm just like fascinated by these people and I've reported on it. But it's everywhere. And if you go on TikTok, you'll see these people, like these fake AI influencers getting like, tons and tons of views. And that's a big problem for not only the end user, but also the content creators, right? I mean, like why would I continue to post on these platforms if I'm competing with AI like fake people, it
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, local media folks listen to this and the people, public in general, haven't really, it's really obvious once you see it, but a lot of folks haven't caught on to the algorithmically driven piece of it.
Mhm.
Like for example, I was telling you before we started recording that I used to produce podcasts for content creators, like influencers, people with
I
big
see.
social followings. And I was working with a guy, a good friend of mine, a few years back, and he's like, "Paul, I have like 1 million followers. Like
Mhm.
none of them are seeing this." I'm like, the follower doesn't matter anymore, man. You
No.
gotta figure out the algorithm. I think the founder of Patreon did like a TED talk a few years back called "The Death of the Follower," and
Mhm.
it's really good. Watch if you've ever seen that. It's like doesn't matter
No, I
anymore.
haven't.
TikTok came and broke the whole thing. It's just the endless scrolling basically, and
Well, and it's what's happening now, right? I mean, you'll
mhm.
see content from a while ago, but the way to go viral is you have to be like capitalize on the now and be the most and fit your content for the algorithm, right? Yeah, your
Yeah,
following doesn't matter. I mean, imagine if
yeah,
like just imagine that world, right? Like where how far we've gotten from the newsstands. Like now, like, I used to say like social media, it was ridiculous because, if I went to a newsstand 25 years ago, I was 4 years old, by the way, so I wasn't going to a newsstand. But if I went to a newsstand 25 years ago, I, would have an idea of like some of the outlets that I was seeing. I would know some information, right? And I could pick it
Right.
out. Social media, I used to say, was like ridiculous in the sense that like you were using it to get your news and you had no idea. It's like going to the newsstand and not knowing any of the actual names that you're looking at. Like they're just in foreign language, and you have to try to pick out which kind of news source you want. But now it's like even far that now it doesn't even work anymore. It's like we're so far from that. It's like going to the newsstand and like it could be anyone in the world feeding you that piece of information for the day.
Yep.
And all that matters is just that person cracked the code at that very perfect moment. And it could just be some random dude, 5,000 miles away that you have no connection to, feeding you the knowledge to help you understand the world. The worst part is that these platforms are profiting on it, right? And that they profit on these sort of perverse incentives that we've all agreed to.
On December 12th, Disney Plus invites you to go behind the scenes with Taylor Swift in an exclusive 6-episode docuseries.
I wanted to give something to the fans that they didn't expect.
The only thing left is to close the book.
The end of an era. And don't miss Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, the final show, featuring for the first time the Tortured Poets Department. Streaming December 12th, only on Disney Plus.
Yep. Agreed. Couldn't have said it better myself. I wanted to ask you, so on the Newsreel site, I picked up on a line that said, built for habit, not burnout. Can you talk about that piece for a minute? The burnout, what you kind of mean by that, and what habit, not burnout means? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's doom scrolling, right? I mean, that's one of like the phrases of the year, I think, last year. I mean, it's like, what it means is that we are maximizing for something different than what TikTok and Instagram are maximizing for. I mean, they maximize for time spent, which means that they are going to try and keep you there as long as humanly possible. Even if they run out of content and didn't have anything else to show you, they're going to keep showing you more. Newsreel, like, we are going to give you like stopping points. We're going to reward you for completion. I mean, our sort of North Star metric is not DAUs or daily active users. It's how many people per day are finishing a artifact, a story, a piece of content, because it gives people some kind of sense of like grounding and completeness that I think is so missing in our hectic information environment. Even if I go to the New York Times now, right? They are pumping breaking news alerts at me all throughout the day. And their home screen is flipping constantly because they've had to compete with the rat race that is social media, which is 24/7. I really think there's an opening for something like Newsreel that gives you kind of gentle like stopping points, that is not trying to maximize for time spent. And I think there's a reason why Substack is doing so well right now, because they naturally, just the sort of the format, right, with a newsletter, that gives people a sense of completeness that they feel like is lacking so much.
Yeah, I'll sit down. I'm probably the generation above you. I'm a solid millennial. I'm guessing you're Gen Z. I don't know where the breakdowns come.
I'm barely Gen Z. Like, the Gen Z. Yeah.
But I'll sit down. Like I said, I'm a millennial. I don't use TikTok. I use Instagram Reels like a grown-up, is like the joke that you see on there. It's TikTok from 2 weeks ago. But I'll sit on there occasionally, unwind, and just flip through, and I never feel like rested or like that burnout feeling you're talking about. It just never ends.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel so much more tired than when I started and like worn out, and it's just not a good feeling.
No, it's awful. I mean, it's like it's like going to the slot machines and expecting to feel like you've like that you're calmer and feel better after doing it. Nobody ever does, right? It's extractive. I mean, that's basically what Reels are. That's basically what TikTok is. It's just a slot machine. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've had some other folks on trying to do like kind of similar things, not exactly like social media things. And kind of one of my questions about it is, from what I understand, I don't know the business model entirely. From what I understand, you probably need a certain density of people, or like a scale, like scale in the terms of scaling up for it to make an impact. Like, have you thought about what that is? And like, do you have a game plan for getting it out there to enough people? because if it's just 10 people on there, or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
it's not going to make a dent. But it's just curious about that.
Yeah, we've gone about creating network effect through schools. So we launched, we're not publicly even listed on the App Store yet. We're technically in soft launch phase. So you can download it by going directly to our site, but you can't get it on the App Store. And that was purposeful. We're going to be launching officially in about a month or so. But the sort of go to market, our strategy has been, let's launch through schools and build basically petri dishes at those schools so we can test, which is what we've done over the last year, but then create that network effect on the schools. So if we get into classrooms through teachers assigning Newsreel, or we push it through, we have this huge ambassador fellowship network of students across both the US and Europe now, where they're sharing it with their friends, adding their friends onto the app. And that's how we've sort of started to create that kind of network effect that I think you're speaking of.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think finally, the last one is, as we sort of start to add what we call contributors, so journalists, news outlets, and high-value content creators, they're going to pull their audiences onto Newsreel. And I think, there's not a hard number where I think, we've got to that, to quote Malcolm Gladwell, a tipping point. But I do think, we're already sort of seeing some of those network effects where it's but there's 150 Penn State students on Newsreel. I'm going to join because my friends are on there. We're already seeing that, and that's because we've sort of started small with these sort of tightly packed ecosystems that are schools. There's no wonder that Facebook started at the colleges. They're just perfect for launching apps like Newsreel.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring up Facebook. It's a smart way to go. First it was just one dorm at Harvard, then all the dormitories at Harvard, then the Ivy League, then all the colleges, and then eventually the entire planet Earth, basically. But that makes sense. That's a good way to approach that. I didn't have this in the prep, but now that we're talking about it, I'm curious. How does have you thought about the business model? How does this stay sustainable? If you're not trying to, if you're not optimizing for daily active users like the other social media platforms or whatever.
Yeah, so we already offer subscriptions in the app to premium content, so more content. There will also be premium features too. We're collecting all this data on your quiz and polling results. That's really rich for understanding more about who you are. And so I think, just we subscribe to data about ourselves on our fitness apps or Fitness Watch. You'll do the same on Newsreel. Second, we're going to start piloting, offering some level of subscriptions to the contributors that we're going to start to work with, the news outlets, the journalists, and the content creators. I think TikTok and Instagram do a really lousy job rewarding and sharing, some of the profits with the people that are posting on them. And I think we can do a really good job of doing that for these contributors that we're going to start to work with. So that's one of the ways I'm thinking. Second thing, I think there are ethical ways to allow sponsorships onto the platform without sort of devolving into what Instagram and TikTok have done, and events too, sponsorships through events. We've already had, I've spoken at tons of libraries, tons of colleges, even some businesses about Newsreel, and there's a real appetite for those in-person interactions that are really based around things like more quality time spent on the internet, better discourse, and there's a whole branding thing that could go off of that. So those are the two ways, sponsorships and subscriptions, that we're thinking of as our business model. And we already have paying schools. We have schools that have paid for premium subscriptions to Newsreel. So people are paying for this. It's just a matter of now scaling that up.
Very cool. Another question that comes to mind is, this podcast is, you've talked a lot about, legacy news media and journalism and everything. This podcast is pretty focused on local news, specifically because, it's been hit harder than many. So as this grows and spreads across the country, the world, what have you, are there any ways, if I'm a local news publisher in, Montrose, Colorado, where I am, that you could target it to the people that it's relevant to, by zip code or something like that? How's that work? Yeah.
No, we're going to be, look, algorithms are not inherently bad. Neither is the printing press, right?
Mm-hmm.
These inventions can only be used for bad by the people who decide to use them for whatever means they want, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can do bad things with the printing press and I can do good things with the printing press. I think you can do good things with an algorithm, and I think you can, if you build the right environment, you can use it to provide the kind of like local news that you're talking about, even in a system like what Newsreel's trying to build. Absolutely. We've had tons of news outlets come to us and ask to start publishing on something like Newsreel. Why? Because they see the writing on the wall, right? Journalism has a future, and that involves two different paths. One, writing for a machine, writing for LLMs, writing for AI, so selling that to AI for data, or writing for human beings in ways that are so distinctly human that people have to go directly to that source. And so, if I see those people behind the story, right, like you can now on Instagram and TikTok, but local news sites are really not doing it enough. We're really building for that on Newsreel, and I think it's a great, great way for local news outlets to start creating direct relationships with new readers instead of just relying on ones that already knew about them and are going to their website. So we absolutely want to work with local news outlets and local news reporters and provide a platform that helps them reach the audience that you're talking about.
Cool. And that being said, you're in New York, right? Is that where the
Yep.
Newsreel is kind of based out of?
Yep.
And you piloted in Brooklyn. Okay. And you've partnered with some school districts and stuff. Where are you? Like, is it geographically based? Like, how large is Newsreel? Is it just like on the East Coast or something now? Like, if I was a local outlet or something, what's that looking like?
Well, we're working with schools all across the world now. I just talked to us in the Czech Republic about an hour ago. So we're like, even though our news is not like, we don't have a huge geographic news operation, like we're being used in schools across the world and by people across the world, like organically even. So it's not just like New York based. We already have a global presence. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah. I was just curious.
Yeah.
I think I've touched on everything I had on here. Super interesting project. Where can people find you? What do you want me to link to or promote or anything like that?
Is a great place to start. Like you can access the app there. If you're a school, you can access links to like get started and embed Newsreel in your class. We actually offer this tool that allows you to do it. Shows you actually how the app is being used in class by student, which is really, really cool. If you're a publisher, absolutely want to hear from you. Send me an email, jack@newsreel.co. Let's set up a meeting. Let's talk. We're running pilots now with local news sites, journalists, and high-value content creators, and we really, really, really want to talk to you. So please, reach out to me. Shoot me a message. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll link to your email and newsreel.co, and I'll link to you on LinkedIn also. I think that's where we connected.
Yeah.
Very cool, Jack. Thanks, man. Thanks for sharing this stuff. I'll probably think of 3 more questions as soon as we're off the call, but that's what always happens.
You're good. Thanks so much, Paul. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Cool. You have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Small Press Big Ideas. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to help the show, the best thing you can do is to tell a friend or colleague and just take a few minutes to leave a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening to right now. It only takes a minute out of your day, but it really does help the podcast grow and reach more ears. Check back for new episodes every Monday.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time, 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.